Thank you so much, Ian Walker and Jack Teal, for joining us today. We're really looking forward to hearing you from the Lunch and Learn. So you're both from FYI, and this is what you told me about FYI. FYI, we're on a mission to liberate accountants and potentially bookkeepers by halving their time spent on compliance jobs through automation. FYI combines document management, job management, workflow and process automation to deliver a step change in practice automation and efficiency. It's a new generation document management platform developed for the modern practice ecosystem with a direct two-way integration with Xero Practice Manager and other best-in-class apps. FYI is the cloud-based paperless office you have been waiting for. There you go.
Well
Thank
said.
you so much.
I feel as though we should be offering Heather a job.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Because I can read.
It was the enthusiasm.
I didn't read the note at the bottom, but I hope you'll explain the note at the bottom during the session, if you can remember what the note was.
Please don't, I'll find it.
But I'd like to hand over to both of you.
Cool. No worries.
That was to you, Ian. I think you were starting.
I was just going to introduce Jack, but we already did the introduction, so I don't know if Jack needs
Go for
introduction.
I don't really. No, I mean, if you're happy to kind of just get into it, I'm happy to.
This is the recorded session, so just do a brief introduction.
Go for it, Ian. You with us?
My Zoom is having some issues. It's unexpectedly quitting. So Jack, you're on.
No worries. I suppose just as a very brief introduction for the sake of everyone who may not have captured it or for the recording. I'm an accountant by trade, a CA, started my life in Big Four audit, thankfully moved my way out into, practice, public practice advisory, and now have made the move into software, now working with FYI. Helping new practices like yours who are considering FYI just to see if we're the right fit, to help you to see how we can kind of make some increase the productivity of your firm, I suppose. And Ian, I don't know if you want to just give a little bit of an intro to yourself as well.
Yep. So former accountant, now the technical escalation manager at FYI. Basically. Love technology and love answering your support calls and queries. I do. It's a really weird thing. I don't know, if I went to a psychologist, I think they'd be like, they'd put me in a room. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Easy, thank you. So Heather's already done a beautiful introduction of what FYI is. So I'll try not to double up. But for those who may not have come across FYI before, first and foremost, FYI is an online document management and automation engine, purpose-built for accountants and bookkeepers by accountants. So we spent the best part of the last 5 years developing FYI from the ground up. So we have built it entirely ourselves to not only store documents, but also to allow you to manage your workflow, collaborate with your team, and automate those pesky repetitive processes in your practice, all from one location. So for those trying to kind of wrap their head around what is FYI, because we do have a lot of features and we do bring all of these different tools together. This is really a really simple way of kind of showing you without having to tell you. So imagine a combination of document management in the cloud, like Microsoft 365 or Google Drive, a CRM like HubSpot, collaboration tools like Slack, which allow you to tag your team members and go back and forth on various bits and pieces in the practice, task management tool like Asana, and process automation tools like Zapier, which allow you to kind of automate certain steps in your day-to-day workflow. So of course, those are all world-class best in practice apps. They do have differences to FYI, but it's a really good kind of introduction to what we provide for the accounting space. Now, there are a couple of prerequisites that you need to be aware of if you're going to consider FYI for your practice. So first and foremost, FYI is deeply integrated with Microsoft Office 365. This is the backbone to our intelligent email auto-filing features, the sophisticated editing of your Office documents, both online and offline. So you can still live in your desktop-based versions of the apps if that's what you like to do, or you can move completely cloud-based. And obviously that Office 365 subscription provides added security, two-factor, all of that kind of jazz as well. FY is also very aligned with the Zero Practice suite. So Zero Practice Manager or Zero Tax are a prerequisite as well. They act as your single source of client data, your source of truth there, as well as job data if you're using XPM. And of course, those services that we don't offer ourselves, we of course want to make sure that we have best-in-class integrations to assist you. So you can see a bunch of the different apps there on the right-hand side that we integrate with, but we're always open to integrating with other platforms and apps as well. Ultimately, just want to make sure that our customers can do pretty much everything they need to from one place. Now, if you are wondering, I don't know how much you've heard about FY, you may not have heard about it too much before, or maybe you have, but currently we have over 6,500 active FYI users, with obviously new practices coming on board every single week. And we're really proud of the range of practices that we're working with, from large multinational kind of firms to team, with teams over 150 staff, all the way down to smaller firms with, around five or more users. So in terms of who FYI is made for, basically it's made for teams. We've found that accounting and bookkeeping practices tend to need around that 5 or more user mark to get the full value out of the product. It is around that number that the benefits of, practice-wide visibility, 360-degree visibility, and team collaboration and process automation tools really start to kick in. And as that number grows beyond 5, of course, the benefits grow exponentially as well. So in saying that, if you are, just under 5 staff or you're looking to grow, FYI can still be a really fantastic platform to enable that growth and that scale as well. So just calling that one out. And given we have an international audience here today, it is worth saying FYI just has servers in AU, NZ, and the UK. All right. So how does the setup of FYI work? We make this a real foundation of ours, and we want to take the hard work out of getting a document management system set up. So unfortunately, a lot of people shudder a little bit when they think about making that move. So we want to take the pain out of that process for you. And how do we do that? So we work with you. We use a proven methodology to get on board, which has been tried and tested with over 450 practices. The migration here is super easy. We handle it. There's no downtime for the team. So, that's always a concern, is how many days am I going to be out of action? The answer is you don't need to be out of action at all. And as the quote there on screen shows, we make that process significantly easier than our clients expect it to be. It's also important to note here that we don't just migrate your documents. We do also train your team, make sure that you hit the ground running. And for those wondering which systems can we migrate from, well, there's a long list of them that we've dealt with before. The standard ones that most accounting and bookkeeping practices use are all yes. Any folder-based system is a yes, but hopefully that list there helps to kind of shed some light on where we've migrated data from. Cool. So I know we don't have heaps of time, and FYI is a fairly feature-rich product, so we won't get into all the details today, but that's why I want to start with a little bit of an overview of the platform, and then we can go into the app and I'll show you a few bits and pieces live on screen. It's always nice to see the app working in the wild. So in terms of FYI as a platform, we span 9 core modules. The 9 core modules are on screen there. So if you've got a list of things that you'd need your DM to tick off, now's the time to tick them off. So email management, document management and automation, as well as search and retrieval tools, the top 3 there. Those are the kinds of things that you'd probably expect from any cloud DM. And of course, we provide those. But in addition to that, are more powerful features like we mentioned before. So CRM, taking cues from more generic CRM engines, allowing you to see all of your client detail in one place, record phone call interactions, record meeting records. You can do all of that within FYI. Now you've got task management as well. So, you might have seen features like this in Asana, but basically the ability to delegate your emails via tasks rather than forwarding emails within the team, reducing the need for, notepad task lists, and reducing the need for individuals to have to manage their tasks through their inbox as well. Job and time management, that's happening in conjunction with Zero Practice Manager. So we basically add to the functionality that XPM already provides. we reduce the need to jump in between FYI and XPM as well. So you can basically do your day-to-day all from within one place. Down the bottom row there, depends if you need it, but document workflows is available in our system. So the ability to request approval on a document and formally request changes back on a document as well. Down there in the middle is Collaborate. So Collaborate's a really big feature, something that a lot of our clients were asking for. That's that client portal functionality. So the ability to send documents securely to clients, have them upload documents back to you, and actually collaborate on documents at the same time. So that's that. Some of you might be used to that experience with OneDrive or Google Drive, the ability to hop into documents at the same time as other people and work on them together. And then finally, process automation. For us, this provides the same amount of time saving, if not more, as all of those other features combined. It's a super powerful space. As I said, we can't get into all the details today, but start to think about things like sending emails in bulk, segmenting your clients in Xero Practice Manager based on certain information and sending them emails, templated task lists, scheduled tasks, scheduled workflows, processes that are driven off of a change to a job state, processes that are driven off of a due date being reached, processes that are driven off of a start date being reached as well. You can basically create these processes to do anything that you want, leveraging data from Xero Practice Manager. So it's super powerful space, and I'll try to touch on it a little bit today, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of inspiration. Cool, I'm going to jump into the product now. Enough of the slides. Let's flick across to FYI, and this is it on screen. So I'm just going to take you through a very basic walkthrough today. As I said, it's not going to cover everything, but it will hopefully shed some light on how you can work in here. And I'm going to use a little bit of a day in the life as an example. So let's start the day by taking a phone call from our client. We pop across to our client list here. And as I said, this is one and the same with your XPM client list. So I can just type in my client's name, Hank, and jump straight into Hank's workspace. So as you can see, it's not just a document management system. It's not just a list of folders that present itself. I can actually view all those key details from Xero Practice Manager. I can view the status of the tax returns with one-click access into Xero Tax. I can view our jobs from Xero Practice Manager and the various states of those jobs. I can view the tasks that have been delegated for this individual client, whether I'm on that task or not. So I've got that visibility over information, even if it's just other team members that are accessing those tasks. And of course, you've got your documents in here as well. If you've integrated the corporate affairs app as well, you'll see some details over there under the corporate affairs tab. So you can see that it's all about bringing in all the information we can about that client into one location. Now let's imagine Hank's calling us about a new business that he's starting. Really easy to jot down a few notes here. New business, 2 partners, Heidi and Hank. They've drafted a business plan for us with some numbers on it maybe, and they need an engagement. So I can go through here, click create to record that phone call record, and that then stores itself within the document list here. So that means that everyone back at the office, if we're working remotely, whatever's going on, everyone has access to see that phone call occurred. From within your email, maybe Hank said, hey, I'll send you a copy of the business plan. So fortunately, Hank's already done that. In your inbox here, we've got a brand new email from Hank, and then FYI has a cool feature called email autofile. So this takes the pain out of filing your emails. Up here, every email that you send or receive, we're looking at the email addresses on that. We're looking to match those email addresses up with your client database in XPM. And if we find a match, we can then go ahead and automatically file that email for you. So back inside of the product here, if I click refresh on our document list, actually they're already there. We can see the email and the business plan have already been filed. And I just opened that email for the first time. I hadn't even looked at it. So FYI is automatically filing your emails as they come through, assuming they're client related and we know all the information about them. Don't worry, there's settings and toggles as well. If that concerns you, you can always tune it up and tune it down to make it work. Then, so we've got our business plan. It's time for us to do some work and review that business plan, but that's not my job. I'm a bit busy. I can then delegate that task out right from within Outlook. So this is that ability to basically deal with your emails in one place, respond to it, or delegate it. I can click add task here, give it a description like review business plan and prepare engagement. I can shoot that one out to our team member, Liz. She can then go through, get a notification that she's got that task, and she'll have the context of the email as well. So why delegate as a task? One, if you're a delegator, forwarding emails is really difficult to track. In FYI, you can go to your homepage and you can view all of your delegated tasks in one location. You can see what's upcoming, what's due today, and what's overdue. And of course, from an assignee standpoint, they now don't have to track their tasks in their inbox, which is for client communication. They can deal with that properly through their task list. So it's really nice and easy for Liz on the other end to track what she has to do. And the third benefit here, which we come back to over and over with FYI, is all about that practice-wide visibility. So as a team, even if you're not involved in that email chain, if you're working the front desk, you're working the phones at reception, you should be privy to the fact that the partner spoke to the client and that there's now a task outstanding here for Liz to complete. So it's all about bringing that information into one location for the team. So depending on your firm, depending on the way that you work, you might go off to Practice Ignition and send a proposal that way. You may need to create the engagement letter from within FYI. You may need to do it from within XPM. However you go ahead and engage with your client, go for it, absolutely fine. If you were to do it from within FYI, you can click on the task here, click into the email, review the attachment, and preview that on screen. So if we're going to go through and review this business plan and then prepare an engagement in here, I can do it all without leaving this tab. So this here, I'm reviewing my business plan. Yep, scroll through, fantastic. I know exactly what this client wants and what they're working on. I can now go ahead and without leaving this page, create a new engagement letter. So depending on how many documents you create, you can obviously upload your own document templates to FYI. So here, I'm creating a new document. My client's Hank. Choose my letterhead, choose my preferred template. Scroll through, make sure I'm filing it to the right location, and then I can go ahead and click create. It's important to understand that using this template here, I'm creating just one document at a time, but using FYI's automation, you could actually set this up to create 100 of these documents or 20 of these documents for a subset of your client base all at once. So think trust resolutions, things like that. So as we can see on screen, FYI has automatically populated a bunch of that key information, such as the date, the client address, all of that's pulling in from Xero Practice Manager when you create it. So from here, this is all cloud-based. So we're auto-saving after every key press. You don't need to worry about losing work. We close that document down, click I'm finished editing, and save those changes back into FYI. Every version, every time you edit a document, we save it as a new version. Never worry about losing that history again. If anyone in the team accidentally ever deletes something, you can always restore it back as well. We don't get rid of any of that. So now that we've prepared our engagement letter, it's been approved by the partner, we can then go through, convert that one across to a PDF. Once it checks in, give it a 2 secs. And once it checks in, we can then convert it to a PDF like I'm doing here, and then send it out the door for signing. So in terms of document signing out of FYI, we integrate with all the best-in-class apps, Anature, Adobe Sign, DocuSign, FuseSign. So pick your poison, I suppose, whatever you prefer. And then right from FYI, we can click on our PDF here, click signature, send it out the door to the client with a little note. And then the client will obviously get an email for them to sign that document. Now, depending on the signing service that you're using, obviously your experience will differ slightly, but from here, I can go through, prepare my documents, add my signatures, do whatever you need to do, and send that out the door to the client. Once the client gets that and signs that document, which I'll do in just a second, FYI is then going to automatically pull back in the signed version for you as well. So don't worry, you don't need to track that stuff anymore. You can do all of that from within FYI. And part of that is using the workflow status here. So on every document in your practice, there's a workflow status. You don't need to use it for everything, but for documents that you send out for signing, we'll automatically track those using that pending client signature workflow state. So over here on our client end, the client's now received an email. They click into it. I'll open that window up a little bit bigger for you. They can then go through, add their signature like so, click finish signing. And once again, the experience here is obviously going to differ for your client slightly depending on which service they're using. But just like that, the client's now signed that document. So within 10, 15 seconds, that final signed version is then going to flow through right back into your FYI. Cool. So I click refresh here. Keep an eye on this little web link icon and this little workflow status here, because when I click refresh, we're going to see that's updated to a PDF and that's updated to workflow client signed. So without you having to do a thing, that document's auto imported back in to the right location and the workflow status is updated to match. So that there gives you a little bit of an introduction. You know, we had a phone call with a client. They sent us an email. The email and the attachment got automatically filed. We then delegated a task off the back of that email. The task was to review the plan, prepare an engagement. Liz prepared a great high quality engagement letter from a document template in FYI. She then converted that to a PDF, sent it out the door to the client for signing, and had the signed version automatically flow back through. Now that we've got a signed engagement, I just want to touch quickly on our job management aspect before kind of tidying up and finishing off the rest of the preso today. So once you've got your signed engagement, whether it's through PI, whether it's through XPM, whether it's through FYI, eventually you get your jobs into Xero Practice Manager, and then they flow through to our jobs section in FYI. So why bring jobs into FYI? Well, the benefits are threefold, fourfold, whatever it is. You know, one is you don't need to jump between the apps on a day-to-day basis. If you're someone who's dealing with billing and WIP and things like that, sure, you do still need to use XPM regularly. But for most of the team who are just doing their work, they can deal with jobs just fine from within FYI. Number two is just user interface. It's really nice and easy to view and manage your jobs through here. So if I'm sitting down, I'm Phil, and I'm sitting down with my team member, Liz, it's really easy for me to isolate down all the jobs from XPM to those that we're working on, and then I can filter further based on certain job states, certain due dates, et cetera, to have, you know, that detailed discussion about the relevant jobs that we're working on. So really easy to search, sort, and filter through. And for those of you who love a Kanban board, you can then flick this across from a list view to a Kanban. I see you smiling there, Ian, to a Kanban board, and that allows you to view your jobs in a slightly different way. And so from here, it's really easy to drag and drop your XPM jobs through job states. And of course, a change to a job state from here will flow straight through to XPM as well. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of an intro to some of the core features of FYI: email management, document management, task management, job management. So of course, we haven't gone to all the ins and outs, but I do want to finish off with just one quick look at the process automation aspect. So once we've got our job into XPM and it's time to begin the work, let's go to Hank. Let's go to Hank's compliance job. It's now time for me to begin this. And for me, maybe I'm part of the admin team, and it's my job to request the, send out the checklist to the client to fill out. I can go straight to my processes here, run our compliance process that, we as a practice have pre-designed, and that is going to run. And what's it going to do? Well, in this case, it's actually going to go ahead and create a tax checklist for me. It's going to create an email for me. It's going to add that spreadsheet to that email, and it's going to send that out the door to the client for me, all without me having to lift a finger. So if I go to my emails here and go to my sent items, we can now see that that email has literally just been created and sent. Well, it will be very soon. This is an example from last week. Let me just go to my document list here. It's probably still loading. So rather than waste your time, here it is. This is what it's going to look like. Basically, it populates the client name. It signs it off from you as the individual, and it's added the document as a link for the client to access. And that happens all without you having to do a thing. It's a templated email plus a templated document linked together and sent out to the client with their name and details populated from XPM. So I know that there's a lot in that, but as I said, process automation is a super powerful area, and that's just one example use case that firms are using for it today. So just jumping out of the product now, just to kind of finish off the final few bits and pieces on the slide deck. If you do like what you see and you'd like to learn more and like to actually have a full demonstration of the product where we go a little bit deeper into each of those features. You can always join a live platform tour at our website. So not only can you do that, if you'd actually like to go to the next step, maybe you've seen a tour of FYI and you'd maybe like to learn more about the implementation process, then you can do that from the website as well. You just hop into the FYI section, and under our easy onboarding page, you can actually download a guide that takes you through the onboarding process. And even better than that, you can book a discovery meeting with me right from there as well. Or if you just like to have a play around, if you've got XPM and Microsoft 365 already, you can go ahead and start a trial of the product too. So I don't know how I went for time there, Heather, but hopefully I squeezed it in okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jack, for sharing all that information about FYI and how it works. Now, I'd like to encourage anyone who has joined us today, if you have any questions for Jack or Ian or about FYI, you're welcome to turn on your video, turn on your microphone and ask them. And I'll ask Nicole, I think you have a question. Would you like to ask that question?
I do. Hello.
Hey.
My question is, I've got a few clients with multiple entities. How does the email and the filing or document management work for that?
Yeah, good question. So it's based on the email addresses. So I suppose there's there's a couple of different scenarios here. There's you've got one email address assigned to multiple entities. In that case, FYI doesn't guess for you. It basically allows you to either assign one of them as a primary, which would mean that if you get an email from that email address, it would automatically funnel those emails to whoever you've assigned as the primary client. Or it will say, or if you don't want it to go to a primary and that every email is different, I'd like to choose. Basically, we have a mechanism that basically pre-files it, but pauses just prior to filing. And so it pops up inside of Outlook here with a little list of all of the entities that meet that email address. And it just asks you to confirm, hey, which one would you like this email to go to?
Okay, great. Cool. And the second half of my question is, I'm not an Office user. Is there Google ever going to be on the roadmap?
I don't think we never say never, as they say, but it's definitely not on the short-term roadmap.
Great, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for your question, Nicole. Now, if anyone has any other questions, please jump on or put them in the Q&A area. So one of the questions we have there, and if you pop them in the Q&A area, I'll read them out. How do you deal with staff onboarding and offboarding? And I guess staff, when they've got particular tasks, how does that work? Like, how does everything get reassigned? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, gotcha. So I suppose that if they do have tasks assigned to them, you can come through here and say, hey, let's filter on assignee where the assignee is Liz, and you could select all of those and bulk update the assignee to another individual. So that would be a nice, easy fix for your tasks. If you're concerned about access, things like that, it's really easy to then also deactivate your users as well. You just come through here and say, hey, Liz, you're no longer with us. Mark you as inactive, can no longer get in.
Yeah. And I notice also you've got generic users there rather than named users. You've got named users and like IT support, which is a useful one. Does it, when you have a solution like Practice Protect, which provides cybersecurity, how does it interface with that? Is it unnecessary, or is it something that sits over the top? Or
Ian, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can. So depending on how your Practice Protect is set up, if it's the email federation, I think they still call it that, or they might call it something else, where Practice Protect controls your email. So when you log in to Practice Protect, that will automatically sort of log you into your Microsoft account. And therefore, from that, you just click on login for FYI and it syncs up and logs you in. So you've already sort of verified yourself from that point of view. In terms of if you haven't email federated, and I don't think there's many firms out there that can't do it now. I think Practice Protect have sort of said, no, we are doing this. But if you haven't, we integrate with the Microsoft the Microsoft login. So therefore, being logged into your Microsoft account logs you into your FYI. So if you've got dual factor enabled on your Microsoft account, then you have dual factor enabled on FYI.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Jose, welcome. Do you have any questions for Jack or Ian?
Hi. Yes, quick question is what kind of benefits do you see using the practice manager, Zero Practice Manager integrated with FYI?
So what are the benefits of using FYI if you're using XPM already?
No, the opposite. I'm not using Zero Practice Manager. What is the benefit of integrating FYI?
It is a requirement of FYI to have XPM as well.
So
it's a prerequisite. And the reason why is because XPM is a bit of a central hub of data within the Xero space. So there's a lot of apps and a lot of different things that use it. So rather than getting rid of it and taking it, ignoring it, we figure keep that as your central source of truth so that your other apps can still use it. And we use it as well.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you for your question, Jose. Can I ask, at the very end, you were doing a demonstration of an engagement letter. Does one no longer need an onboarding engagement tool if they're using FYI docs?
Well and truly, potentially not. I mean, you can create an entire process in here for new client onboardings, which might be a series of tasks for the team to complete and a series of emails that need to go out. You can have an email drafted up to say, hey, this needs to go out to their old accountant, and this is the PDF document that needs to be attached to it requesting X, Y, and Z. And then ultimately, we might not know who the accountant is that we need to send it to. So in some cases, the email might go out automatically. In some cases, the email might just be drafted so it's ready to go for you. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For us internally, we use FYI ourselves for new onboardings. So if any of you come on board FYI, we'll start a flow, 40 or so steps that we go through, and we've built that into our product to make sure that everyone gets on board the right way, the right emails are going out at the right times, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So while it has a fee, it obviously saves you money because it may well be replacing a number of solutions that you may already have in existence.
Correct. Another one that comes up a bit is Mailchimp. Obviously, Mailchimp's world-class app at what it does, but some firms are just using it to send a newsletter, and you can do that kind of stuff in FYI. So depending on the depth of what you're using those apps for, you can potentially get away with it. Yeah.
And you can use Mailchimp for free for under 2,000 emails in a month, and many small accounting firms wouldn't probably be sending out more than 2,000. Yeah. I know. I'm quite active, but I still haven't hit that limit in the last decade. I did notice at the start you integrated with the Gap, which my understanding is the Gap provides you with resources to provide advisory. So how does that integration work?
It's a good question. I haven't actually had too much involvement myself with the Gap's integration. I don't know, Ian, if you've got anything that you can add on that front.
No, I also haven't.
Yeah, I mean, very early days in my time at FYI, we had a bit of a shared webinar, and there was a few back and forths between us and the Gap, and I suppose a shared relationship. I'm not sure in terms of product integration, more so like relationship. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you for that.
Sorry, Heather. Hello. It's James from FYI here. I've just been listening in quietly, and I'm supposed to be just in the corner observing, but I just can't help myself. And everybody who knows me, including Nicole, who's online today, would know that all too well. What it is just a sharing of documents between the two. So it links the client record in the Gap to the client record that would exist in XPM or FYI. And so this document created in the Gap, it obviously pushes through. So you've got that central repository that sits in the FYI document.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense because you are providing them advisory, and thus those conversations, etc., would be shared amongst the two things. Okay, fair enough.
Correct, spot on. I'll be quiet again. Nice to
Do you have
chat.
any
Thanks.
other secrets
Thanks,
to
James.
share with us,
Yeah,
James?
Not that we can broadcast on Zoom.
We need
especially
to
when
know
it's recorded.
quirky facts about you too, James.
Next time.
So, does anyone have any other questions? Please jump on the line. If you do, put them in the chat area. I did think that the process automation that you were showing us and the email integration, the emails coming in, that, you know, that would save people a massive amount of time. Not that I'm sort of selling your product or anything, but just that automated email allocation saves such a large amount of time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, if no one else has any more questions, can you share with everyone who's attended how they can get in touch with you? I know that you've already done that, but throw up the sign and remind them again how they should get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I think if this is the first you're seeing of FYI, it's still very much worth hopping into a live platform tour. There will obviously be a bit of double up in terms of what I've covered off, but we go a little bit deeper and you'll see it, you know, so there's some more steps in between that I'll show you as well. So that's probably the first thing to do. Hop into there, book a live demo, and out of that, obviously, I'll then be able to touch base with next steps from there. If you've already seen FYI before and maybe this was just an opportunity to kind of revisit it, or and you are looking to kind of make the transition, then also on our website, I can actually just show you now, FYIdocs.com. Under this FYI tab, you can just go straight to easy onboarding. And in there's both a guide that you can download, which goes through our onboarding process in depth. And there's a link to book a discovery meeting with me, which is really like a scoping session. So you've kind of got two steps. One is join a platform tour, or go the onboarding route and jump straight into a discovery. And if you are someone who prefers the trial, obviously you can go to the website and start a free trial as well if you've got Xero Practice Manager or Xero Tax and Microsoft 365.
Absolutely.
And in no way will you be disappointed.
Should I presume that FYI stands for your information?
Yeah, I don't think there's a bigger story there. I don't think there's any, weeks of marketing consults and things like that came up with it. So yeah, I think for your information is a safe bet.
Excellent. Oh, well, if there's not any more questions, I'd like to thank Jack, Ian, and the other mystery presenter who jumped on for a few minutes there that joined us and sharing this solution. Really grateful to have you here and learn all about FYI.
No worries. Appreciate it, Heather. Thanks.
Thanks, Heather.
And thanks everyone for coming.